What if Anakin Skywalker defended the Jedi Temple during Order 66? That's what we're going to get into today. Hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. Our story begins inside of Chancellor Palpatine's office. Anakin is standing completely in shock in front of Palpatine, who has just revealed a terrible truth. He is the Sith Lord the Jedi have been looking for. This made no sense to Anakin. He couldn't be the Sith Lord, he was like a father to him. But now, only a traitor. Palpatine spoke, saying Anakin must join him in order to save his wife from certain death. And Anakin was sifting through his feelings, through his memories, trying to think of things that could have given this away in the past. Killing Dooku, the story of Darth Plagueis, the constant manipulations about the Council. Palpatine spent so long bringing Anakin to his side, and something clicked for Anakin in that moment. He remembered what Obi-Wan said, "Be wary of your friend Palpatine." And then Anakin remembered his nightmares, and he had to ask Palpatine, "How do you know about my nightmares?" And Anakin caught the most subtle sign of surprise or panic on Palpatine's face, allowing Anakin to make one simple conclusion. Palpatine put the nightmares in his head. Perhaps he did the same for his mother. Perhaps he had something to do with his mother dying. The anger boiled to the surface, and Anakin swung his lightsaber at the traitor Palpatine. The Sith Lord backed away, looking up as his robes were slightly cut by Anakin's saber. Anakin yelled angrily, charging at Sidious, chasing him to the window, and Sidious countered with lightning, catching Anakin off guard now by reaching out with his hands and catching two lightsabers. Anakin fell to the ground as they were ignited, and Sidious hit him with more lightning. He laughed, saying Anakin could never stop what was coming. And Sidious swung down to cut Anakin's limbs off, but the Jedi was able to barely roll out of the window, and he began sliding down the roof, trying to recover from the lightning and gain his balance. As he slid, Anakin looked up at the traffic, seeing a Republic clone transport in the middle of it all, so he gathered his strength and jumped into it. The clones turned, surprised to see him, but Anakin just told them to bring him to the temple. Inside of Palpatine's office, he watched Anakin go, and he frustratedly turned on his communicator. He wanted more time, but the order would have to be executed right now. So, he turned on the device, sending a communication to all of the clone troopers across the galaxy. Execute Order 66. As Anakin was flying with the 4 clones and a clone pilot to the temple, they all listened in as a communication was sent to their helmet. Anakin got an uneasy feeling, and suddenly, the 4 of them were aiming at Anakin. They began shooting, and Anakin's Jedi reflexes were just quick enough to duck. 2 clones accidentally shot each other, and Anakin instinctively pushed the other 2 all the way to the ground below. He felt terrible doing this to his own men, but he had no choice. The temple was in view now, but suddenly the clone pilot began a nosedive to the ground. He was following his orders, taking Anakin down with him. And Anakin recovered from the sudden jolt, was able to get to the door of the transport, using all of his strength to jump just before the ship was going to crash into the ground. Anakin landed his jump in the Jedi Temple hangar, rolling and stopping in front of Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, Aegon Kolar, and Saesee Tiin. All of them looked horrified, as they'd felt something in the Force. It was like thousands of people, thousands of Jedi, all died at one time. Anakin stood up, knowing there was no time now for anything except for action. He told the Jedi Council Masters exactly what just happened. Palpatine is the Sith Lord, and he has given out some sort of order to the clones. They were hell-bent on killing him, without any hesitation. The Jedi Order was in danger, and he looked to Windu, saying, "This is the plot to destroy the Jedi, taking us out with our own men." And though the Jedi Masters were horrified, they sprung into immediate action. Mace Windu looked to Anakin, and realized how Anakin must have gone against what Palpatine wanted. Mace remembered how many missions Anakin had led and won in this war, and so he looked to the young Jedi, saying that he was in direct control of defense strategy, along with him and the other council members. Anakin nodded with confidence, saying that he has an idea to evacuate as many members as possible. So Anakin went to a corner, calling Senator Padme Amidala, while Mace and the other masters sprinted through the temple hangar, alerting Shaak Ti and Sindralic of what was going on. Throughout the Jedi Temple, the older Padawans were armed with lightsabers. All of the nav beacons and signal lights outside of the temple were shut down, and all of the blast doors were sealed and code-locked. Panic was beginning to sweep through the temple, but Mace and the others did what they could to help everyone remain calm. saying evacuation would soon come. Anakin spoke with Padme now over their comlinks, and he was telling her there was no time to explain everything, but the Jedi Temple needs the help of her and whatever Senate friends she has. Anakin explained that Palpatine is the Sith Lord, leader of the Separatists, and an attack on the Jedi has been ordered across the galaxy. The temple is in danger, and they definitely do not have transports available to evacuate the Jedi. So Anakin asked Padme for help from the Senate, any Jedi sympathizers, and Padme said she would try her best. The call was ended, and Anakin ran into the temple, helping set up the defenses for when the clones breach. Once inside, Anakin ran to the temple entrance, looking to the stairs. Far below, thousands of members of the 501st Unit, Anakin's clone legion, were beginning to climb, but the Jedi would not go down without a fight. Inside of Bail Organa's apartment, though, he was meeting with a group that included Mon Mothma, Jar Jar Binks, Fang Zar, and a few others. Padme Amidala just stepped outside to take a call, but now she re-entered with a panicked look, telling them everything. This group of senators was created to protect the Republic, and it was now clear and obvious that Palpatine was taking down the Jedi so he could rule for himself. Their worst fears have been realized. And so this group of senators began organizing a resistance against the upcoming Jedi Temple siege. Each one of them called to their home planet, asking for transports to Coruscant immediately. They would help the Jedi, they just needed their reinforcements to arrive in time. Padme hoped that Anakin would be able to help the Jedi survive for just long enough. Inside of the Jedi Temple, temple guards, around 100 of them, lined up just inside of the entrance as Anakin Skywalker paced in front of them. They were the first line of defense, under oath to serve and protect the Jedi and the Temple. With Anakin at the front of the line of guards were Kit Fisto and Aegon Kolar. The three council members would fight with the Temple guards. In the Temple hangar, Mace Windu, Saesee Tiin, and around 100 Jedi Masters or Knights were currently fighting. While thousands of clones marched up the Temple stairs, a few hundred others were taking transports or speeders to the Temple hangar or side doors, and the Jedi were defending hard against the invasion. The clones were gaining little ground, but with every Jedi that fell, 10 clone troopers replaced them. The Jedi were clearly outnumbered, they just need more time. And meanwhile, Shaak Ti, Syndrellic, and a few other masters were leading the Padawans and the younglings deep into the temple. They would wait here at the back entrance by the courtyard, be the first to evacuate when the reinforcements hopefully arrive. And now back at the temple entrance, Anakin, Kit Fisto, Aegon Kolar, and the 100 temple guards were all standing in a ready battle stance as the marching sound got closer and closer. Eventually, the helmets of the clones could be seen. The Jedi readied themselves, knowing they would be killing the men that they fought with, and in moments, the clones began to fire. As the first wave of clone troopers poured into the grand entrance, the Jedi ignited their lightsabers in unison. The clash of energy and blaster fire filled the air as the Jedi met their new adversaries head-on. Anakin moved with a fluidity that seemed almost impossible, his lightsaber cutting through the clone troopers with precision and speed of a true Jedi. Aegon Kolar and Kit Fisto fought side by side, their lightsabers creating a display of acrobatics and skill with each other. They seamlessly complemented each other's fighting styles, deflecting blaster bolts, dispatching clone troopers with ease. And the temple guards, armed with their yellow sabers, formed a protective barrier around the more seasoned Jedi, their disciplined training evident in their coordinated defense. The battle raged on, each corridor and chamber becoming a witness of lightsaber combats against the clones. The Jedi, outnumbered but not outmatched, fought valiantly against the relentless waves of clones. Anakin's eyes burned with determination, his connection to the Force guiding his every move. The Force did flow through him, enhancing his reflexes, amplifying the power of his strikes. And the initial wave went on for a long time. The Jedi were not giving much ground. But just like in the hangar, with every Jedi that fell, with every guard that fell, it gave so much more room for the clones to advance. It seemed like the clones were just not slowing down. Despite their skill and their courage, the Jedi began to feel the weight of the overwhelming numbers. The clones pressed on relentlessly. Casualties among the defenders were inevitable. Anakin, however, stood strong at the front, a beacon of hope for the Jedi as he led the charge against the encroaching tide of clones. But as Anakin stood strong at the front, he heard Kit Fisto yelling at him to retreat. Anakin turned his head, seeing that Fisto was dragging Aegon Kolar to safety, with blaster wounds covering him, and at least half of the temple guards had fallen. Anakin looked around, knowing the entrance area was lost, and he turned to regroup, using the Force to bring down a pillar, buying some time for them to escape. Anakin caught up to everyone, as they were now in the main area of the temple. Kolar was dead, and Fisto laid him down peacefully out of the way. Anakin, Fisto, and the 50 guards were joined by hundreds of Jedi, as they were now in the main area of the temple, waiting for the advance of the clones. And suddenly the Jedi saw Windu and another group running out of the temple hangar. Unfortunately, Saesee Tiin was not with them. Now every single ready and able Jedi was in the main area. Anakin and Windu got back to back as the leaks began to spring. Clones came in from every angle, the side entrances were blown up, and the main entrance was cleared. Anakin was wondering where the reinforcements from the Senate were, or if they were coming at all. And as the battle in the main area erupted, with Windu and Skywalker leading the Jedi, Anakin looked up through a ceiling window to see 2 Republic Star Destroyers approaching the temple, realizing now that Palpatine would not have any mercy. The Jedi were holding out for too long, and so the Sith Lord was ordering for the temple to be blown to pieces. Anakin watched as the 2 Republic ships got into range, and he accepted that they did everything they could. But right as the ships were about to fire, a hole was blown right through the middle of both of them. Anakin watched as 2 Republic ships began to explode, and through the middle of the explosion poured at least 200 transports from various planets. The Senators came through. They were able to get transports here just in time. Anakin pointed up, and the Jedi yelled out in relief. The 200 transports from planets like Alderaan and Naboo poured to the back entrance of the Jedi Temple, where Shaak Ti and Sindralic were waiting. As quickly as they could, the Jedi Masters simultaneously defended against clone troopers that made their way into this back entrance, while loading younglings and Padawans into the transports. Jedi were falling, but many were beginning to escape. In the temple, the last of the temple guards fell dead, and now it was Anakin, Mace, and Kit Fisto as the lead defenders. The guards would have survived longer, but one of them turned to fight with the clones, and took out a lot of the guards with a surprise attack. Clearly, he was on Palpatine's side. And now the 3 of them stood strong, as the final surviving Jedi made it to a transport. It was now their turn. So they turned, running through the temple. There was one final transport waiting for them, and it was actually Jar Jar Binks waiting for them. As they were about to get to the transport, lightning was slammed into the engines, and the ship exploded. Jar Jar exploded, and the 3 Jedi Masters were thrown backwards against the outside walls of the temple. They were dazed and confused, and a moment later Kit Fisto was held up, stabbed through the chest. Anakin and Mace stood now, getting up just in time to be face to face with Sidious. The temple was being evacuated completely now, as all remaining clones were ordered to get into the air, arrest or execute any senators that aided in the escape. Darth Sidious ignited a lightsaber, saying Anakin and Mace will pay for their treachery. The 2 of them stood together now, ready for a fight for the galaxy. The courtyard just outside of the Jedi Temple was illuminated by the glow of the lightsabers, as Anakin and Mace confronted Sidious. The clash began with a burst, as lightsabers moved with unreal speed. Anakin moved with the grace of a true Jedi Master, while Mace Windu channeled the power of the dark side that Sidious fed him, using it to bolster his own strength in the pursuit of justice. Sidious fought with calculated aggression, decades of anger put into this fight, and the courtyard became a battleground where the forces of light and dark collided. Each strike, each parry, each counter moved with a rhythmic precision among 3 of the most powerful warriors in the galaxy. Mace Windu pressed forward, his lightsaber meeting Sidious's with a burst of sparks, and Anakin fought in tandem with Windu, their synchronized attacks testing the Sith Lord's defenses. The 2 Jedi worked well together, catching Sidious off guard. He unleashed bursts of lightning, attempting to gain an advantage. However, Anakin deflected the dark energy with his lightsaber, while Windu absorbed it with his Vapad technique. As the duel reached its climax, Mace Windu disarmed Sidious, leaving the Sith Lord vulnerable, and Anakin, without a trace of conflict, stood by the side of the Jedi Master. Both of them agreed that the Sith Lord was too dangerous to be left alive, and so together, they lifted their sabers as Sidious looked up in horror and was struck down. From here, Windu took off back into the temple, taking out remaining clones that were messing with the temple beacon, urging all Jedi to return to Coruscant. He pushed through, doing what he must to officially clear everyone out. And while Mace handled the temple, Anakin went to Palpatine's office. He flew a speeder to the broken window, jumping through it, and was getting to Palpatine's communicator. He had an idea. Clearly, he was part of Palpatine's plans, so much so that he was recently promoted to Palpatine's official representative of the Jedi Council. He was now basically in control of the Grand Army now that Palpatine was dead. And so Anakin activated the communicator, speaking to every clone across the galaxy, telling them that Palpatine has been killed for treason, and the same would happen to them if they do not stand down. The clones were programmed to listen to whoever was in command, so all at once across the galaxy, they stopped trying to kill the Jedi, and slowly they realized what they had done. In the aftermath of it all, around 1,000 Jedi made it out of the temple alive, and 100 more around the galaxy survived. The Order was decimated to roughly 10% of what it was, but the temple survived. The Sith were gone. In time, the clones would reveal they were under some kind of trance from Palpatine. They had no choice. For the remaining months of the war, the Jedi would completely pull out of it, regrouping as an order on Tython, meeting up with Yoda and Obi-Wan. The war would last another month, but once the Separatist leaders were arrested on Mustafar, it was all really just a cleanup. With the revelation about Palpatine, the Republic was able to rebuild under Chancellor Padme of Naboo, and a memorial was held for the brave sacrifice of Senator Jar Jar Binks, killed by the Sith Lord. 1 year later, Anakin was a key member of the new Jedi Council, as Chancellor Padme ran the Republic. Watching their children was tough with these responsibilities, but Obi-Wan and Ahsoka were an excellent help. The Jedi and the Republic were away from each other, and in time, the Jedi would rebuild to its greatest strength. And folks, that's our actual video for today. Let's talk a bit about it. Now, doing this was a bit tough because the temple, the Jedi Temple, it's huge, right? Like, there's many different entrances. We saw that in Mando Season 3 when Kelleran Beck escaped with Grogu. Clones were just flying with speeders up to, like, side entrances and stuff. There's a lot to kind of keep track of, and I tried to do that with 3 different kind of squads here. Anakin leading one group, Windu leading another in the hangar, and then Shakti in the back kind of helping younglings and Padawans. Those 3 different groups in 3 different key areas. And it was fun to kind of do and really get into the inside of the Jedi Temple. Because, well, we do have a lot of that, right? We do see that in various different shows. We don't get it directly in the movie, so I really wanted to just dive into the Jedi Temple and try to do my best for what was going on, giving Anakin a reason to not turn to the dark. It's usually, you know, Palpatine was influencing the nightmares, and Anakin found out about that. At that point, he has no reason to be with the Sith because, well, Palpatine's the ones that faked the nightmares, so Anakin just stays in the light. And yeah, what do you guys think? I had a lot of fun writing it. Again, it's a bit tough to do like a thousands against thousands of people battle, but I thought I did okay. So, hope you guys enjoy. Let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.